Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Thanks for joining me today. My name is, I'll wait a little bit longer as you guys start filing in. For those of you who already have logged on, my name is Nick Mikesell. I'll repeat that again for those who might be arriving a little late. I am one of the design managers here at Michaels, and I'm located in sunny Dallas, Texas right now, which is a stark contrast from where we were last week. If you give me, or if you take a second, let me know where you are in the chat, and maybe I'll give you a shout out. But I'm really glad that you are here today. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing some spring characters, some fun animals, whimsical characters, fun things that will get us ready for spring, since that's right around the corner. Today, it feels like spring here in Texas, in North Texas. It's just great. It's beautiful. Wow, you guys are from all over the place. I'm seeing this. I see there's some people from my home state of California, people from Illinois, Virginia, Maryland. Wow, you guys are all over the place joining us today. We got a big crowd so far. That's no pressure on me, right? But yeah, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing some fun, whimsical characters for spring. Last week certainly didn't feel like spring for us here in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. It was pretty crazy, really brutally cold. We actually ran out of propane in my house, so we had to actually go stay at a friend's house to stay warm at me and my family. But wherever you guys are right now, I hope you're safe, warm, having a good Tuesday, and are eager and ready to draw. So without further ado, let's go ahead and switch it over to housekeeping really quickly. This class is being recorded. So if I'm going too fast, if you miss something, if you want to watch it again later, you can. It will be available on the Michaels website, michaels/classes.com, michaels.com/classes, online classes, and you can watch it back later. Again, I'll try to keep it as slow as I can, because I want to fit in as many characters as we can draw in the 1 hour. If you got the last time, if you joined me, it was back in October, I believe, September, October, around that time, close to Halloween, and we drew this. You guys, some of you, if you remember, we drew zombie pets. This was the little zombie Gaston dachshund that I drew. Gaston is my mini red hair long dachshund pet. And we drew a bunch of these, a bunch of fun little zombie characters. Okay, so today we're doing spring characters. So it's going to be things like, I'm going to start off with a frog. You probably saw it in the invite, or on the class page. And then also on that class page, there was a materials list. Really, to do this, what we're drawing today, it's not like you need any super fancy materials. You might see some of my materials that I have here, but really all you need is your favorite pencil, a good eraser, and then some paper, and we'll start drawing. So if you don't mind, Felicia, if we could flip to the overhead. So these are a couple of characters that I've already drawn. I drew this cute little whimsical frog here, and I also did this little more realistic little bird here. Don't worry if you forgot your eraser, that's okay. It's no problem. You can still just kind of draw over it. Erasers are only if you make mistakes, and big mistakes. But for the most part, you can keep drawing over your mistakes. It's no problem, or you can start new. Okay, so first things first, I want to show you a few of these little fancy tools that I have. Here are a few of my favorite pencils that I like to draw with. This fancy guy that I have here is called a mechanical pencil. We sell these at Michaels. You can find them online or in our store. And basically, the reason why I like this is because I can create a nice fine point with this lead that's in there. That's within the lead holder. This is called a lead holder, just a fancy term for a pencil. And then this is the lead we sell these on Michaels too. The brand that we have and that I'm using is called Staedtler. And you use a lead pointer to sharpen these. But if you don't have anything like this, don't even worry about that, because you can also use just your regular old standard pencils. Now, if you have a number 2 pencil at home, that's perfectly fine as well. These that I have in my hand are a Staedtler Mars Lumograph Black. These are really nice pencils. We sell them on Michaels at michaels.com and in our store as well. And then a little handheld sharpener. I have this fancy top-loading mechanical electric pencil sharpener that I like to use. But if you have like a little handheld sharpener, that's fine. I also have this thing, and this is a pencil holder. And basically what you'll notice is as you sharpen your regular pencils, they start to get a little shorter, right? So if you use this guy, and it helps to make the pencil longer so you can grip it better. So that's pretty neat. And we sell these at Michaels as well. And then I have a couple of different types of erasers too. I got this click eraser right here. And it just basically has a plastic housing that has this long eraser that you feed into it. And these are great erasers for really cleaning up a lot. Like some of your some areas, and it really can get the lead up really nicely. And then also I have this. Does anybody know what this is? Can you tell me? Maybe somebody in the chat knows what this thing is. It's kind of gummy. Yeah, it's an eraser. What kind of eraser is it though? Do you all know? I see a lot of people saying clay. It's the clay eraser, sticky putty. No, this is actually what's called a kneaded eraser. And let me just spell that out for you guys. It's Kneade. It's a kneaded eraser. And these are great because they can help you lighten areas. If you go too dark with your pencil strokes, you can actually lift it up. And I like having one of these in my hand while I'm drawing because the heat of my hand keeps it soft and pliable. So these come in very handy. I'll show you how to use that here in a second. But let's go ahead and get started. Why not, right? That's why we're here. We're here to draw. So I'm going to start out by drawing this frog, and I'm going to show you guys the steps in order to draw it. I'll make sure that I draw really big. This paper pad that I have is a standard drawing paper sketch pad. You can pick this up at Michaels, or if you at home, if you just have some regular give me one second. If you just have like a sheet of printer paper, like 8.5 by 11 printer paper, that's perfectly fine too. You can do that. You can use that. I like to use this for another reason, and I'll show you in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and start drawing on my pad here. I'll get started. And now let's look at this frog first. Now, let me hold it up to you. Yeah, I saw there was a question. Is he wearing a crown? Yeah, of course he's wearing a crown. He's a little frog prince. Now, when we start drawing, what we really want to look at, whatever it is that we're drawing, we want to break things down into basic shapes. So you can kind of see my sketch lines under there. I don't know if y'all can see that, but I have like basic shapes. Like there's this egg shape for the body. There's a large oval round shape for the head and also for the different eyes. But that's how we start drawing. Whatever it is that we're making, we want to break it down into simple shapes first. And we want to start out drawing lightly. You don't want to put too much pressure on your paper right away when we're drawing. We want to start out working really light so our lines aren't too dark. That's sketching. That's what sketching is. It's just really sketching with not a lot of pressure with your pencil. So if you're holding your pencil really close like this, close to the tip, that's actually gonna make you draw harder. So it's good practice to actually start drawing your first lines where you're holding it more like in the middle of the pencil and doing light strokes. So Just like how we have to stretch before we go out to exercise, before we run, we have to get our bodies warmed up. This is actually a good idea to start getting warmed up by doing some doodles, like some little sketches, and letting our hands go back and forth and doing different pressure and kind of do some scribbles. That'll help us get our hand kind of loosened up. We're not doing anything in particular. We're just kind of getting ourselves comfortable with the pencil running over the paper. So I'm just doing a bunch of scribbles just to warm myself up, to get my hand primed to do some sketching. So now that I've done that, now that I've kind of warmed up and loosened myself up, now I can start really focusing in on drawing our little frog. So as I said, shapes. So what we're looking at first, I'm going to start with the body. No, I'm not going to start with the head. I'm actually going to start with drawing out the body, because the body is the center, right? It's the core. It's the center of where everything else begins. So let's start out by drawing, and don't worry if your egg shape doesn't look the same as mine, or any of your shapes look the same as mine. The beautiful thing about artwork is that everybody can do whatever they want to do, and you can make your drawing look, or your character look, any way you want it to be. You want it to have a bigger head, that's great. Let it have a bigger head. There's a question there I see from Samuel, and it says, do you have to warm up? No, you don't have to warm up if you don't want to, but I like to. Like I said, it's just to stretch my muscles. It's just to kind of get my hand a little loosened up, so I'm not so stiff. I want my drawing to flow, and I want it to be more organic. So again, let's start out by drawing a simple egg shape for the body. And what I'm doing is I'm just doing a regular sketch, and it's very light. I'll hold this up to the camera so you can kind of see. So this is what I'm drawing for. Don't worry if your egg shape doesn't look exactly like mine. Actually, you can make your body shape any way you want. There's a question there that says, can I see you guys? No, I can't see you, but you guys can see me. Okay, and so then from there, from drawing that, the body shape, now is when I'm going to draw the head shape. And like I was saying, you can make your head shape as big or as small, or in a different shape as you want. So now I have my head kind of blocked out, and that's in there. And I'm going to do the eyes. I'm going to do an eye on the left side here. It doesn't matter how big it is or how far they are apart. Again, all drawing, all artwork is unique. So this is what I have so far. Let me hold it up so you can kind of see what I've got. So I've got the head shape here. It's not any type of perfect shape. I got the two eyes, and then now, and also the body shape. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start blocking out the legs. And I'm going to start with the back. So if you guys see these legs, the shape, they kind of create an almost almond shape around, like almost like a really flat football, if you will. So that's what I'm going to draw here. I'm going to draw one leg on this side, this shape like this. And then I'm going to draw another one on the other side. And again, it kind of makes think of it like a piece of rice that's blown up. So it's this oblong, these two oblong shapes like that. Okay. How's everybody doing? Doing good so far? Yeah, kind of like a leaf, Vinny. You're right. It is like a leaf. And then I'm going to block out the feet. Now, I'm not going to worry about drawing every single little toe right now. I'm just going to draw kind of like this, which is a triangle shape. Let's see how that is. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Another triangle shape like that. So you can kind of see our frog starting to take shape, right? Y'all, I know I'm going a little fast, but like I said at the beginning of the class, This class is being recorded and you'll be able to watch it back later. It will be available on our Michael's YouTube page or also our Michael's website within 24 to 48 hours. And you'll be able to watch it at your pace. So you'll be able to slow it down and go faster. So now what I'm going to do is there's kind of like this light spot that I have created in the center of the body. That's kind of like the belly of the frog. You know, sometimes if you've ever picked up a frog, you'll notice that the top of the frog is darker than the bottom of the frog because the belly is a little bit lighter. I'm going to map out in that space with another egg shape right in here. And I'm going really lightly. Like I said, light pressure. Not trying to do too hard. And then I'm gonna do the front legs here. And basically kind of like these long noodle shapes, like almost like macaroni, curved, slightly curved. So I'm gonna do one on this side. And then another on the other side. And these can be as long as you want. Again, I'm gonna keep saying that. You know, art is what you want to make it. So it's yours to do, and make your own different characters. They don't have to follow mine. And then I'm going to do another triangular shape, almost like a diamond shape here to map out these front. So I'm going to do this. So I'll hold this up so you all can see. But I have these two diamond shapes that I kind of mapped out right there for the front legs. Okay, cool. Everybody with me? All right, so now you can really see our frog starting to take place. Sure, I can go back, Athena, no problem. I can show you the first few shapes that I did. The first shape that I started with is right here. It's this egg shape that was the body. That's the first shape that I drew. And then I went back and I drew this oval shape for the head, the two circles for the eyes. Then I created these leaf or almond shapes for the hind legs, these triangular shapes right here that will map out where the hind feet are going to be. And then I added in another egg shape for the belly and the chest. And then I did these kind of thin macaroni shapes, curved shapes right here for the front legs. And then these diamond shapes right here, which are going to map out where the toes go, the feet and the hands. Okay, awesome. Cool. So let's now block out. Let's go back up to the head here. And let's block out where the crown is going to go. And you can make your crown shape any way you want it. I know I've said that a lot, but that's the truth. My crown has 3 points on it. How many points do you want to put on your crown? Do you want 4, 5, 1? That would look kind of weird. But I'm going to do 3 points like that, sharp points. I have these little circles that I'm going to add to the end of them that are kind of like like a little adornment, like like you could put like a jewel in there or something like that, just to give it some sort of detail. All right, so that's our crown. I've mapped it out. Let's get into these eyes, and let's start drawing these eyes with more detail. So as you can see, the way my eyes are drawn is that I have a circle for the outside of the eyeball. I have another circle that's on the inside, that's the dark part of the eye, the black part of the eye. And then I also have another small circle for the height. So that's what we're going to draw. We're going to draw 3 circles. So the first circle, yes, Sophia, you can color it if you want to. If you are going to color it, I would use colored pencils. Don't use markers, because if you're drawing with pencil, the marker will smear your pencil and it'll make it look dirty. So I recommend, if you want to color it, you can color it in with some colored pencils. Okay. All right, so let's start drawing the eye. I am going to pull out, I'm going back and I'm grabbing that scrap piece of printer paper, because the reason why I'm grabbing this is I'm going to set it on underneath my hand. So as I'm drawing and moving my hand around, I'm not smearing or smudging any of the pencil lines that I've already put down. So that's a nice little tip to keep your drawing clean and from smudging. Is just get a scrap piece of paper and put it underneath your hand while you're drawing. So let's go in and start blocking out the eyes here for the frog. So I'm gonna make one shape, and I'm not doing it in the middle of the eye of that other circle shape that was out here. I'm kind of doing it more towards the center or off center towards the middle of the frog's head here. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, but again, you can do yours wherever you want it to be. And then I'm gonna block out the black part of the eye right here. And also on the other side, black part of the eye over there. You can make them cross-eyed too if you want to. Hey, you know what? Let's do that. Let's make them cross-eyed. So I'm just going to let's get our kneaded eraser. And let's use that. I'm going to create a point with my kneaded eraser. And I'm just going to lift up that black of that eye. And then I'm going to draw my circles closer to the edge of that white. So he's going to be kind of cross-eyed. It'll be kind of cute. And then I'm going to define where these highlights are. So a little circle right here and a little circle right here. So check this out. So my frog is starting to take shape. You see how that looks? It doesn't look like much right now, right? It looks just a bunch of shapes layered on each other. But once we start adding shading, that's when it's really gonna come to life. Oh, Vinny, I like it. And cat eyes, that's cool. So next, I'm gonna block out the mouth. So your mouth shape can be any shape you want it. This one was kind of wide. You see how wide I came out with when I drew? I'm gonna make this one maybe a little bit more narrow and have the mouth turn up like this. If you want, you can even make the mouth open. And if you want to do that, just make a circle like this. That way you can have its tongue come out if you want. How fun would that be if you did that, right? But I'm going to do my frog like this. I'm going to give him draw some lines up like that to kind of give him, make it look like his corner of his mouth silly. I think this is silly, but you know, whatever. I'm trying to do something different. So we got that blocked out now. Now is when we're going to go down here and add more detail to the legs and the arms and the feet and hands. I'm going to start out by adding detail to the hands first. So as you look here, he has 3 fingers. So I'm going to draw each finger and block it out like this. Check this out. So I'm actually kind of drawing. I went back into that diamond shape and I added some triangles here and here. I'm going to do the same thing here and here. And look how quickly you have fingers, 3 fingers. You can do as many fingers as you want. And then I'm going to make some circles on the ends of those fingers. These ones are overlapping. Not a problem. That's no big deal because, you know, things overlap in real life. You know, maybe he's sitting like this. Maybe he has one hand on top of the other. So let's that. Let's say that his left hand, because if he's facing you guys, this is his left hand, this is his right hand. We're going to make his left hand stand on top of his right hand. And I'll just do that. Ta-da! Have some fingers already done. Now let's go and do the same thing with the toes. So again, we have this triangle shape here. I'm going to cut out a piece of it. And I'm cutting out a piece of it by doing a smaller triangle there. And I'm going to cut out another piece of it by doing a triangle that goes a little bit deeper in there, like that. So I added in these 2 triangles on top of that other triangle. And that defines our toes. And then I'm going to draw a circle here, a circle here, and a circle here. Those are like the frog's suckers on the tips of his toes. So let's do the same thing on this side. And let's cut out a small triangle here and do another cutout of another triangle on this side. And look at that. There are his other toes. Circle for the sucker, circle for the sucker, circle for the sucker. And look at that. We now have his feet blocked out. Now also with the leg, we have the detail. It's like, just like we have, they have knees, right? And there's the knees that are at the top. And so this is the bottom part of the leg, and this is the top of his leg. So all we're gonna do is we're just gonna draw a line to kind of define that, to split the leg in two. And what that does is that now creates his bottom part, or his shin. You know, this is where his shin is. This is his knee. And then this is the top part of his leg, or his thigh right there. That kind of tucks behind his body. Look at that. Frog really has taken shape now, hasn't it? It's looking pretty good. I think it's time to start doing shading. What do you guys think? I think that's gonna that'll really bring this frog to life.
Hey Nick,
Yeah,
if you get a chance, some would like to be able to see the current drawing against the one you had already drawn. See them side
yeah,
by
sure.
side.
Yeah, I'll do it my side right now. You can see I've made this guy bigger. Obviously, he's a little bit bigger there, but this is the one that I drew before. And so you can kind of see it. Let me hold it up so you guys can see a little bit closer. So look at the difference. What are the differences? The mouth is different. I made him cross-eyed. The crown might be a little bit bigger, but for the most part, it's all the same. I'm curious to see what your drawings are going to look like. At the end of the class, I'll give you a hashtag to use, and also my Instagram handle, so that you'll be able to share your sketches with me. All right, let's start shading. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch pencils. You don't have to do that. You're just going to, for those of you who only have one type of pencil, like a 2B pencil or an HB pencil or your number 2 pencil, just keep using that. Just add a little bit more pressure. But what I'm doing is I am switching to a different pencil. This is a lead weight is 4B. Don't worry about any of that stuff. That's just a fancy term for the weight lead. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start drawing, shading in first. Let's go with these eyes. Let's just start shading in the eyes a little bit. And how I'm going to do this is, don't get ahead of me. Wait for me to show you how to do it. But you see where the highlight was overlapping the hold it up close so you can see where the highlight, where that circle is overlapping the black part of the eye. Don't color in there. Don't shade in there. Leave that alone. So that way it kind of helps to give that illusion of a highlight. All right, let's start coloring. Using a little bit more pressure. This pencil is a lot darker. And I'm shading, what I'm actually doing, because I want it to look pretty cool, is I shaded darker closer to highlight, and then I lightened my pressure, so I created this gradient. You see that? How it's darker here underneath the highlight and not as dark here on this side. That'll give you more illusion of like it's more depth, like it has more volume to it. Let's do the same thing on the other side. I gotta get back. I want to do a bird. We're already halfway through the class. So shade in that eyeball again on the other side. And then I'm going to create a darker line for the eyeball here. And then also on the other side. And then let me show you guys. Look at my cross-eyed frog. That's pretty funny. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start outlining the head. So what you'll notice here is that when I started creating the outline along the head, when I got to this corner, I did a darker line here, and then I went straight into the head where that connects, where that part of the eye the outside part of the eye connects with the cheek and this side of the face of the frog, I just kept the line going. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's do that. Let's outline the head. So I'm going to go here. When I get to where those two sketch lines that I created cross over, I'm going to follow the head. So let's go there like this. And then when I get to here where the top of the head and the eye, the other circle meet, I'm going to follow the head, the top of the head here. And then let's bring it down. Go ahead and go through. I'm not stopping where these two lines crisscross because that'll create the chin there. Follow it up. Stop it where the eye, that circle for the eye, and continue and trace it all around till I'm back to the beginning. And there you go. That's the outline of the head. Let's make the mouth darker too while we're at it, while we're here. So I'm going to go back in with this pencil. I'm adding more pressure, and I'm going to draw in the corners and the mouth shape so it really pops out more. And then I'm going to jump up here to the crown, and then I'm going to draw the crown like this. Darken the outlines along the edges there, and also for those circular details at the end of the points. Check it out. See how it's coming together? Let's do the rest of the outlines, dark outlines, and then do more shading. So for the body on this side, I'm going to bring this line down on this edge, and I'm going to have it go down here. I am not going to cross over this line with the arm. Instead, I'm going to do this, draw these two in darker, and the same thing on the other side for the arm. I'm not going to darken in the lines up here at the top of the arms because that's where the arms connect with the body. So then I'll draw here underneath. I'm going to show you guys a little trick here. When you're down here on the bottom, make this bottom line a little bit thicker than the rest of the other lines. So it's really thick like that. And what that does is that gives the illusion of a shadow underneath the body. And you can actually even make this side darker right here on this side like that, and that'll give more of an illusion of the shadow of the light flowing underneath the body there. Let's go to the other side and do the same thing. I see that Christy, you want to turn yours into a clown frog? Yeah, why not turn yours into a clown frog? I don't know how you're going to do that, but when you do it, send it to me. I'd like to see what it looks like. All right, so I'm also going to darken in the belly here. Let's get moving. And then I'm going to darken in the legs. Notice how I'm using the scrap piece of paper because I don't want my hand going on top of that, that pencil lead and smearing it as I'm drawing. I need to sharpen my pencil. Let's get these legs drawn in. So I'm darkening up all these lines, all these sketch lines that I've created. And once you do this, like you'll start noticing as you start darkening up all these lines that a lot of your sketch lines almost disappear. Like it's hard to see them. Because if you did light sketch marks, they start fading into the background because the lines that we're creating now are they're darker. So darker things pop forward and the lighter things are receding into the background. So let's get his fingers done. Remember, this hand is overlapping the other hand. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but whoops. Okay. But I want to start doing some shading with you guys, because I have a cool tool I want to show you as well to help you with the shading. There. Almost got everything drawn in. I like the king frog, Vinny. That's pretty cool. All right, I've everything blocked out. Look at that frog. Mine's just a regular frog prints. It's not a cool ninja or clown frog. Those sound really awesome. I wish I would have thought of those myself, but here's my little Prince frog. He's just a cross-eyed Prince frog. All right, so let's start adding in some shading. I'm going back to my other pencil, which is the different weight lead, which is the, it's called an HB. I'm not going to get into too much of the boring details here, but I'm going to show you how to make something look shiny. Look at the crown. You see how the crown, how it looks like it's shiny? That's because we have highlights here, and then you have values, or you've shaded in here. And how you do that is you don't want, you want to leave where the highlights are. You want to leave that alone. You don't want to color those in. And we're not going to erase it at all. So if you don't want to shade it, Andy, you don't have to. You can keep it as is. But I'm going to start showing you guys how to mimic some shininess, shiny metal here. So let me show you how I sketch this out. So I'm creating kind of like a gradient on this side. So I'm shading more here on the left side of this part and lightening up my pressure so that it goes from dark to light. You guys see that? I'll hold it up here in a second. And then I'm going to shade in also a band of value here, and then also here at these parts of the points. So take a look at that. Instant shiny. Doesn't it look like it's like shiny metallic? So the key to doing that is leaving those highlights alone like that. And notice how I did it as a going across, how it goes across these points at an angle. And then I did those shadings, the shading value here. And again, I did it more pressure here to make it darker. And then I lighten my pressure and trying not to put as much value here on there. So it's going from dark to light. Okay, practice. That's what you should, you can practice that off to the side where you go harder with your pressure and then slowly let your pressure up to create something, a gradient that looks like that. And then that'll help you create the metallic look. Now let's drop in some value on the frog, top of the frog's head. Now I'm going to go, if you notice what I did here is I want dark to light. Like I didn't color or shade anything here in his mouth. I just kept it mostly on the top. So that's what you want to do, is start shading in at the top of the head and then lightening it up as you get close to the mouth.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
One of our friends want to know what's the difference between an HB2 pencil and an HB3 pencil?
Okay, that's a great question. What that all has to do, so this particular pencil that I have in the lead here is called a HB pencil, actually. And the HB refers to, the H refers to the hardness of the lead. I don't want to get too technical here, but this just means that it's a hard lead and that it has the B stands for the blackness of the lead or of the marks that it produces. So an HB is actually it's a well-balanced pencil. It's hard, it's hard and soft, and it's got a good amount of blackness to it when you make your marks. That other pencil that I was using, this one, this is actually a 4B pencil, and you'll see the number that's on the back of the pencil here. Whenever you see something that has like 4B, the number in front of B, that means that it's a soft lead pencil, which means it's going to create a darker line. So the higher the number in front of the B, the darker the mark it will make. So it'll make a really, really dark mark. So that's what that means. If you have a pencil that has, instead of B, it says H, and there's a number in front of that, that's like 2H, that means that it's a harder lead. And the higher the number before the H, that means the harder the lead and the lighter the stroke and the mark that it will make. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's go back to shading. I hope that answered the question. So I'm going to continue shading my frog head here. I'm going to shade it along the side of the head a little bit. Notice how I'm holding my pencil. I'm holding it near the middle. I'm not on top of it like this, because if you're on top of it like this and you're drawing, you're making shorter marks and you're actually creating more pressure. So it's going to be too dark. So that's why I'm holding it further back and just letting the pencil kind of glide across the surface of the paper. Now I'm going to show you guys a cool tool. All right. So does anybody know what this is? Any know what I have in my hand? Any guesses? Yes, Kaylee, right off the bat. Kaylee got it right. It's a blending tool. This is a blending stump. Yep. You guys, those of you at the first, you got it. This is called a blending stump. And you can pick these up at Michael's. We have them. And that's exactly what they're used for, is blending. You use the edge of it to blend down. And just like how you're using a pencil, it helps smudge the pencil lead and creates a nice smooth blend. I recommend, if you haven't used a blending stump before or blending stick, to practice with it. Do this where you do, like, you put a bunch of marks down on the paper and then try to blend out with it and see what happens. Play with it, see what it does. But you see how it gives like a soft, it really softens out a lot of those marks. So that's what that is. I do not recommend actually using your finger to smudge. And there's a reason why. With your finger, if you use your finger, there's oils in your finger. And what that does is it will stain your paper, and it will get into your paper, and it will, over time, it'll yellow and make your drawing look, it'll stain your drawing. And also, if you use your finger, that oil will push the graphite or the pencil marks down into the paper, and you won't be able to erase them. Because one of the things you can do now, and this is why this guy is great, kneaded eraser, I formed a point on it. Now I can go in here, and if I want to add some lighter freckles to this frog, I can do that. And I can use this kneaded eraser as a drawing tool. You'll check this out. So instead of doing dark freckles on the frog, I'm doing light freckles this time. So check this out. Before, when I was drawing this frog, I was doing darker circles to create the freckles. But now I use that kneaded eraser to lift up some of that graphite and that pencil marks in there to create light freckles. So let's go.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Emma had a great question. Could she use her eraser to help blend?
That is an interesting question. An eraser is for lifting out the pencil marks and the lead that you've put down, all this shading that you've done. I've never tried to blend with an eraser, because I think whenever you eraser over the top, it kind of lifts up. See how it lifts up the but that's you could use a cotton swab. You can use a piece of tissue paper, like if you get like facial tissue. I don't have any here. Some paper towel, you can use that as well. Actually, I have a piece of paper towel right here. Let me show you how to do that. I'll just get a piece. So you can take a piece of paper towel and you can create a little, pointed stump like that, and then you can use that to blend. It's not as effective as this guy, as the blending stump, but it still works. You could do that. And somebody asked to see the other frog again. Here it is. Okay. All right, so let's go back and really quickly, because we're at about 15 minutes. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get to drawing a bird. And let's just keep drawing our friendly frog here. I'm going to add more of those freckles using this eraser. Put some on top of his head here. Right there. That. I'm just trying to make some different size circles, and then we'll get into drawing or shading the rest of the frog's body so we can finish this guy off. All right, so we're looking pretty good here. Let's go back to grabbing my other pencil. I'm going to start shading in. I'm going to hold this guy right here so you all can see. I'm going to shade in his body. I'm not going into his belly here. This egg shape that we created, I'm leaving that alone. So I am just going to go in there and shade his body, and I'm going to make him a little bit darker on the outside of his body. So I'm adding more value, more shading to the outside part of his body. That will really help to give the illusion of the curve of his body. Notice how I'm not going into the arm. Not going into the arm just yet. I think, Candy, we can do the bird another time. I think it's up to the Michaels people if they want to invite me back to do another drawing class. But yeah, I think I can do the bird next time. And then I'm going to shade underneath his chin here, like this, to help create the look of the shadow from his head, like that. Let's add some more value down here underneath his belly. I'm going to give it more shadow down here at the bottom of his little stomach, his little frog stomach, to help give that illusion of that curving back into space. And then I'm going to do this with his hands. What I'm actually going to do is I am going to shade in his hands, and then I'm going to do dark to light as we go up his arms like that. So that really helps to have the upper part of his arm stand out against his body. I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. Shade it up like that. I'll hold this up to you guys in a second so you can see. Check this out. So there you go. Our frog's really coming to life, ain't it? This little sucker's happy. I love it. So let's do the legs. And the way that I did this, if you can see on my original drawing, is that I shaded dark to light this way. So from the back of the leg to the front. So we're going to do the same thing here. Let's shade his leg. So it's darker along the outside edge and lighter as we get to the middle. And then I'm going to do a little bit right here. So it's darker up against that line. So it really gives that nice illusion of form and shape. Check it out. Let's do the same thing on the other side. I love shading. I don't know about you guys, but shading is one of my favorite things to do when I'm drawing. I really enjoy it. It really brings drawings to life. It gives things, objects, form and value. It gives them weight, makes it look like they're, it gives the illusion on a flat surface of something that's three-dimensional. Now let's do the feet. I'll show you the bird again in a second. I'm not going to be able to draw it, unfortunately. I apologize, guys. This is just a one hour free class. I wish, these could go longer. You know, I would love to be able to draw with you all day long, but I have to work, unfortunately. But I would much rather be sitting here drawing all sorts of whimsical characters with all of you all day long. It's a lot more fun sometimes than the things I got to do. But such it is being an adult. If there's any parents watching in on this and following along with the class, can I get an amen on that? Okay. So I've got them all shaded in. What else should we do? What else can we do with this guy? Can we give him some darker spots on his back? Yeah, I see a lot of amens there. So let's actually go back to my other pencil. Let's give some more details to this guy. Since we have time, I'm going to give him some darker spots actually on his body rather than the lighter spots. So giving some darker spots here. Check it out. So these darker spots too, if you notice, I'm staggering them. I'm not doing them like in a row. You could do yours in a row if you wanted to like this, but what I'm doing is I'm staggering them and I'm doing different sizes. Large, small, medium, maybe really small, larger, and I'm kind of doing them randomly. That really helps to give the illusion of something that's more natural rather than something that looks kind of man-made and stiff. So you can have some close to each other, some far away. You know, it's your drawing, so do whatever it is that you want to do. So we gave him some spots. Since we have about 8 minutes, how about we put him on a lily pad? Wouldn't that be cool? Let's draw a little lily pad right here, and I'm going to add it in, and I'm going to start back here, and I'm going to draw basically an oval like this. How many of you have seen a lily pad in person, like up close? Have you seen what they look like? They usually have a little notch in them, right? So I'm going to create that little notch right here. So he's sitting on his little lily pad. I'm going to grab my other pencil. Lily pads are neat. And they're the perfect thing for a frog to sit on, right? So here's his little lily pad that he's sitting on. It's kind of an oval shape. So there he is. And now let's add some shading underneath here, like, because he's casting a shadow, right? The frog casts a shadow in here. So we'll add a little bit of shading underneath him and out here along the legs. So that makes it really give the illusion that he's sitting on this comfortable little lily pad. And you could go in here and add some details to this lily pad too if you want, because usually there's like little veins that they have like that. You know, you can go in there, add some lines to give more of an organic feel to this lily pad. Look up what a lily pad looks like on Google or something, or if you have a good photographic memory. I don't, but if you do, maybe you know how to draw a lily pad better than I do. And lily pads also have like flowers, right? And they have these cool flowers. Now, I'm not looking at one right now, so we're just going to get, and so they have these flowers that are kind of like layered lily flowers like this. And they have little stalks in them that come out. Right, I forget what those are called. If you guys know what those are, it's been a while since I've taken any type of biology class, but if you know what these things are called, stamen, I think. Anyway. So there we go. And then they're on these flowers, a little like that. Add some shading. Oh, this is really fun. This is the best part of my day, guys. I'll just tell you that right now. Sitting here, drawing with you, drawing these fun little spring characters. This has been the highlight of the day, and I hope it has for you too. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that you to sit in, watch me draw. I hope your drawings that you're enjoying them, that you've done something that you're proud of. Again, you can make these things anything you want. Let's look at the bird again. I'm sorry I didn't get the bird. We just really got into this frog. He was a lot of fun to draw. Give your frog a name. Oh, I can draw a cattail real quick. Check this out. Cattails are kind of like hot dogs. Let's put it over here on this side. And what you want to draw is the cattail has a long oval shaped hot dog like this. And then they have the stalk that they're on. And then at the top, there's usually a little point at the top. Now let's kind of shade him. And what we'll do is we're just following the same pattern as what we were doing with the shading here. We're going to shade it from the outside going in, darker along the edge here. Like this. I'm glad you all had a lot of fun. I'm seeing your comments, and that makes me happy. There's your cat right there. Looks kind of fun. Let's hold this up close so you all can see it. Isn't that fun? I'll post this guy on my Instagram tonight so you can see it. And if you're curious, if you'd like to follow me in order to show me your drawings, I encourage you to share with me, please. I love seeing what people do from my class. Make sure you tag your drawings if you share them on social media or your parents' social media. Parents out there, make sure that you use the hashtag Make It With Michaels. Hold that up. I believe it's Make It With Michaels, right? Sure, is it Made It With Michaels?
It's Make It With Michaels, and they can also do hashtag Michaels classes.
There you go. That's the other Michaels classes. And for me, on Instagram, I am simply Nick_Mikesell, all lowercase. I'll hold this up. Please, like I said, please share your drawings with me, your sketches, anything you want to share with me, just tag me. I'll come take a look and give you some encouragement. And again, hashtag Make It With Michaels, hashtag Michaels classes. This class, again, lastly, has been recorded. It will be available online within 24 to 48 hours on our YouTube page, and also our Michaels. Is it, Felicia, you're gonna have to help me out here again. It's Michaels.com/classes. That's simple. So you'll be able to find it there within a couple days, day or two. I'm glad you had fun. Like I said, this was the best part of my day. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to see you again soon. Please come back. I think I do have another class coming up next month. We're going to be drawing superheroes, another favorite thing of mine to draw. So I hope you can join us for that. We're going to take your favorite caregiver and turn them into a superhero. So again, I really appreciate you guys joining me today, taking time out to draw with me. This has been a blast. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your night. Actually, it's 5 o'clock here in Texas. It's almost time to go fix dinner for my family. All right. Thanks, everybody. You all take care now. Hope to see you soon. Send me some of your ideas too, if you have any for a class. I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see next time. All right. Bye.